So what's up guys, welcome back to another Flutter video, and in this video we'll be building a simple car rental app UI as you guys can see over here. So we'll be trying to implement this UI in our Flutter application. So as you guys can see, we have two screens over here. So the first screen will be our basic home page. That is it will basically show the list of cars which are available for renting out, and also then we can click on any of these cards and we get sent redirect to this detail page. And here we have an app bar where we get the bookmark option and also the option to share this car. And then also we can view some more specifics about this car, like the charge for like 12 months, 6 months, and also the specifications. So guys, without further delay, let us get started. So guys, as you guys can see, we have created a new Flutter project, and this is the default Flutter code which we get, and this is basically a counter app or a counter uh, demo app which you get when you create a new Flutter project. So this is basically a simple counter. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove this class part, so we will create our own uh, widget, that is my app widget. So first of all, let me create a stateless widget. And okay, so we create a new stateless widget and let's call it my app. And basically it is going to return us a material app widget. So material app over here, and this material app is going to take the title of our project, which is it is basically a string, and let's call it OK car. And then we need to give us theme, define the theme attribute, so it will be a theme data widget. And inside this widget uh, we can define the primary color of our app. So basically it is going to be white, and the accent color is going to be maybe blue or maybe purple. Okay, so I'll keep this here in my side. Okay, so let's make it smaller and over here so that we could take the reference of this UI. So I'm also going to make this a bit smaller for now. So here we can get the primary color as colors dot white, and then we need to get the accent colors. So accent color will be colors dot maybe blue. Let's keep it blue. And then we need to define a home. So the home is basically going to be the starting page of our app. So here I can define a home, and it will be the cars overview screen widget, which we have not created it yet. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to create a new folder inside my lib folder. So let's create a new folder. Let's name it screens, and inside my screens folder I'm going to create a new file, and let's call it cars overview dart. Okay, so inside my cars overview dart file, what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to import this Flutter material dart package, and then I'm going to create a new stateless widget, and this should be the cars overview screen, and I'm going to import this in my main.dart file. So whole slash screens and cars overview.dart, and now it is going to return us a scaffold. And in the scaffold, first of all, we're going to have an app bar. So definitely we do not have an app bar over here, but I'm going to give it an app bar, and basically that app bar is going to synchronize with our body. So we are going to give it an elevation of 0. So app bar, and inside this app bar I'm going to set the elevation to 0, and also I'm going to give it a title, and let's give it a text widget, and this should be the name of our app. Let's save it, and also let's give it a body. So the body would be, let's say it's a container for now, and we can also give the background color of our scaffold, because it would not be it would still be white, but not the white which we want. So theme dot of context dot primary color. Okay, let's save it, and let's try to reload our app and see what we get here now. So just make it a bit bigger and reload it. Okay, so now as you guys can see, I have my app bar, and also it is getting synchronized with the body because we have not given any elevation to it yet. And also we can make this text look a bit bigger, and also I want it in the center. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set center title to true, and also I'm going to make this text a bit bigger. And first of all, let's save it. Okay, so right over here what I can do is I can define a property for style, and it will be a text style, and this text style is going to have a font weight. So font weight, let's make it a bit bolder, so font weight dot bold, and then let's give it a font size. So the font size would be around 25. Let's save it. And also I have just reloaded it, and as you guys can see, it looks more clearer now. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going back to our material app widget, and inside of it I'll just set the debug check mode banner to false, just to get rid of this ribbon out here. So let's save it, and let's reload it. Okay, so now what we can do is we need to provide the label like this available cars option, and then we need to create the grid or the list of our cars, which contains the list of our cars. So for that, over here what I am going to do is right inside this container, it will not be a container, it will be a list view widget for now, because it is going to contain a scrollable list. So yes, so list view, and inside this we can provide some children, and the first children would be the text widget. So text, and it would basically be the available cars label. So cars, okay, and then also we can add some styling to it. So I'll just copy this up, which we have added to our title in the app bar. So I'll just copy this up and I'll just paste it over here, and I'll save it, and I'll reload it again, and yes, we have now got this option. But since we'll be using many kind of text style over here, as you guys can see, we are going to have the title of that particular car in our detail page, and also over here we're going to have the pricing and all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file, a new folder over here, and I'm just going to name it as utils. So it is basically going to contain the utilities. So inside this folder I'm going to create a new file, and let's call it utils dot dart. Yes, so inside my utils dot dart folder, first of all what I'm going to do, I'm going to create some text style, some customized text style. So I need to import the material.dart package over here, and here the first one would be I want to create the main heading style. So main heading, and it is going to be a text style widget. So text style, and it is going to be bold. So font weight dot bold, and also the size would be font size, and it would be around 30. Okay, so this is basically going to be the heading, as you guys can see over here. And then we can implement with the subheadings. So subheadings, and this will also be a text style widget. So text, actually I'm just going to copy this up and copy, and let's paste it here, and I'll decrease the size to around 20 or maybe 25. Okay, let's save it. And then what else do we need is the style for the name of our card in our car overview screen. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create another constant, and it will be just the basic heading, and we will also be using it over here maybe. So basic heading, it will be text style widget, and this one will not be bolded, and the font size will be a bit smaller. So font size, let's make it like 20. save this, and we will be adding more such common widgets which we encounter in this project, so in this utils.dart file. So for now we just close it. And also what I can do is I need to create basically I need to display the list of cars which are available. So for that, first of all, I need to create a model for our cars, or for a car. And let's create it. So inside my lib folder, I'm just going to create a new folder, models. And inside this models folder, for now we'll be just working with the car models. So I'll just be needing a single file inside this folder. So maybe cars.dart. Okay, enter. And here, first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new class for our car. So class car. And every single car basically is going to have an image, the title, the price also. And the price would be on a monthly basis, but we can calculate and define what it is going to be in 6 or 12 months, as it is shown over here. And also we are going to need some specifications like the gearbox and the seat, and also the color. So for that, what I am going to do is okay, let's keep it here. And here first of all I'm going to define some attributes to it. So the first one would be the name attribute. So it will be a string, so string name maybe. Okay, so name. And then we will be needing the price, so it will be a double, so double price. And then we are going to have the image, so image. And since I'll be using offline images, that is I will actually store the image of our dummy cars, of our cars, into my project folder. But if you want to fetch the images from an API or from a server, then you can also use the same method. So basically you'll be parsing an URL over here, but right now I'll be using a string for the path, and you will also be using the string which is going to be that URL, which will be basically parsed with the images of your car. So here this will, let's keep it just image path. Okay, so and after this we need to mention some specifications of our car, that is the color, the seats, and also the gearbox. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to define another string which will hold our color, and then I'm going to define another string for our gear box. So these are some basic information of our car, and also a string for the fuel. And after that, what we can do, we need to initialize them. So for that, I'm going to actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to call it as car item, so to make it more clear that we are talking about a single car over here. And car item, and inside this car item I'm going to use named arguments. So here this dot name, then this dot your price, and this dot image path, which we will be going to provide, and then this dot color, and this dot box, and also this dot fuel. Yes, so that's it. And now what we need to do is basically we need to get the list of all the cars, and each car has this special attribute. So for that, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a car list. So a class car list, and maybe call it cars list, and this will basically hold the list of our cars. So for that, here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to define a list. So it will not be final, of course. So list car item, so it is going to contain a list of car items. Let's call it cars, and it is basically going to be for now, let's keep it like this. And right here, since we need to get access to the list of the cars outside our file, so for that I'm going to define car list. And we'll specify all cars, and this is going to hold the list for our cars. So yeah, so this one is our list. And now I have some dummy information about the cars, but you guys can use your own you guys can use your own information. So the information can either be hard coded, or maybe you guys can fetch it from an API or something like that from your server. So for now, for this project, I'll be using some hard coded list of cars. So I'll just copy this and paste it over here. Okay, so as you guys can see, I've pasted here, and this will be title. Okay, so let's change it to title, and here also. Okay, so here we also have some additional values like the brand and also the path, that is the image path. So I'll just specify the image path as just path over here, and also we need to add some extra parameter, which will be the brand name of the car. So yes, we are going to display the brand name over here, as you guys can see. Okay, so yes, so for now I'll just add it like this. So final, and it will be a string. So string, maybe a brand, so the brand of the car. Okay, so I'll add it here also. So this dot brand. Okay, so now as you guys can see, we are getting an error because we need to wrap it with a cars list widget or cars list class, which we have just created. And basically it is going to take a list of cars. So we have specified this, that it is going to take a list of cars. But okay, so let's initialize it. So a cars list, and yes, so here this dot cars. So yeah, so here we now have the list of cars, which can be defined by car, and this one will be cars list, not car list. And yes, so we are using named arguments. So okay, all right, let's wrap it with some curly braces, and this one is going to be cars because we are taking the cars parameter. And let's save it. And now we will be able to access this list of cars, which we have over here. As you guys can see, we have the title, the price, the color, and yes, we have the color, and then we have the gearbox, the fuel, the brand, and also the part of the image. So for the images, I actually have a folder called the assets folder, as you guys can see over here. So this assets folder basically contains pictures of my cars, which I'm going to display in my app. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to create a new file in my project directory, so root directory of course, and here I'll just create a new folder actually. So I'll just name it as assets, and inside my assets folder, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select all of this, and I'm going to drag them inside my assets folder. So as you guys can see, we now have the pictures of our cars. And okay, let me close it for now. And we need to specify it in our prospect.yml. So for that, I'm going to my prospect.yml, and inside the assets section, what I'm going to do is just uncomment them, and just specify the path to the folder instead of specifying the path for all the images, and it will get it, and it will be the images will be added to your project directory. So let's run it. And yes, so after this, what we need to do is we basically need to go back to our cars overview.dart file, and right here what we need to do now is basically we need to define the grid for which is going to display the list of our cars. So for the grid, but before that, since we have already defined the constants for our text style, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove this text style, and for the available cars part, I'm just going to use the heading. Okay, so it was main heading, so main heading. Okay, main heading, and let's save it. And we still have the same okay, so it is working. And also we can add this to our text to our title in our app bar. So just replace the text style widget and call it as sub. Okay, sub heading. Okay, so let's save it. And okay, so here it is showing an error. So yes, we have an extra bracket, so let's just remove it, and we're going to save it. Okay, so here are some errors. Okay, so we not forgot a semicolon over here, and we'll not use it after this square brackets. Okay, then now going back to our cars overview.dart file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a new widget which will basically hold the grid of our cars. So over here, after this text widget, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define the cars grid. So cars grid, and since we have not created this cars grid widget yet, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new folder inside my lib folder. So out here I'll just call it as widgets. This folder is basically going to contain all the widgets of our app. So I'll create a new file, call it as cars grid.dart. Okay, enter, and here I first of all I need to import this flutter material.dart package. So let's copy and let's paste it over here, and then I'm going to create a stateless widget, and this stateless widget basically be called cars grid widget, or maybe car grid, whatever we put in over here. So cars grid, and since we are going to display a grid view over here, so basically what we can do is we can basically specify a grid view builder. So instead of container, I'm going to specify the grid view builder, and inside this grid view builder we need some options first. So if you guys have noticed, then you guys can see, like if I make this a bit bigger, so you guys can see that this is actually a bit uneven. So the right side or the right part is a little bit below than the left part, and yes, it is quite a cool style. So this is what we are going to be implementing over here, and yes, you don't need the staggered grid view widget here, because we'll just be playing with the margins. And yeah, so what we can do is, first of all, over here let's specify the item count. So the item count is basically going to take the count of the cars we have in our list, so basically the length of this list. So for that I need to import the models. So dot slash models and the cars.dart, because I'll be needing the cars list class over here. So let's call it. So now I can directly call all cars since we have specified it over here outside this class. So yeah, so let's call all cars, and here, so all cars dot now we can access the list, that is the list of the cars. So over here, so all cars dot cars, and we can now define the length. Since the cars is a length, cars is a list, so we can define the length, that list, so length. And then what we need to do, we need to get the builder, so item builder, and also we need the grid delegate. So the grid delegate, basically it shows how many items we want in a particular row. So here I'll use the sliver grid delegate with sliver grid delegate with fixed cross-axis count widget, and here I'll specify the count as 2, because we need 2 items in a single row. And for the item builder, what we can do, we can specify like builder which is going to take a context, so context and index. So let's call it I, and yes, it is going to give us, it is going to build us a it is going to return a basically a container maybe. So so what we can do is we can return a container. So basically, since we are using arrow functions, so we can use it directly over here. So we'll remove the curly brackets and we'll just return a container, and this container is going to take a child. So child, and okay, so child, and that child would be a column, and that column is will basically contain have some children. So children, And the first one would be the image. So we have the image of our car, and then we have the name of the car, and then the price, which will be per month. So here what I'll do first is I'll define image dot asset, which is a widget which gets images in your local directory. So it just takes a path, so I'll give it a path. So the path would be all cars dot cars hash index. So it is going to be the index, which is I dot path. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this part till up to here, and for the next, that is the text widget, which will hold the name. So here just specify it as title, and then we can get price. So text, also we can uh, price. So the price, and since the price is actually a double value, so we can just wrap it and call the toString method. So dot toString. So now we have it, and also we need a small text which will basically be the per month. So per month. So this will be a small text, and I forgot to put a comma over here, and then we can give some text styling over here. So here, since we are getting the basic heading, so style basic heading, which we have defined earlier in our utils.dart file, and here also we can give the style, and this will be the subheading. So yes, style. Okay, so I'm actually using the wrong thing, so I'll just turn it down. And so here I can use it style, and this would be the, I have an extra comma here, this would be the subheading style. So subheading style. Okay, let's save it, and we'll get an error because we have not defined a particular height as our parent widget of this builder. So let's see that error which we get. So as you guys can see, we are getting an error. So let me reload it again, and here we have this error over here in our cars grid because we have just not imported it over here. So yes, we have not imported it, and also we will get an extra error because since we have not defined the height. So okay, cars grid, so it is basically double dot slash widgets and cars grid dot dart. Okay, let's save it, and yes, so as you guys can see, we are getting a different error now, and basically it is telling us that let's see it once again. And yes, so right here what we can do to avoid this is yes, so as you guys can see, the viewport was given an unbounded height, so it is taking an infinite height. So for that, what we can do, we can actually set the shrink wrap inside our grid view builder to true. And yes, let's save it again, and hopefully it is working now. But still there is something wrong because we are not getting this effect, which is the height. So and also we're getting some error over here because we are not giving it enough spacing. So to avoid this, what we can do, we can define a specific height to our container. So we go back to our container, we can define a height here. So let's define height of around 200. Let's save it, let's see what we get. Okay, so it is not working, and so this is likely not going to work. So we can try another way out, like let's try defining the wrapping with this text of price with a widget, which will be the expanded widget. Let's try saving this, and now what we can do is basically we cannot scroll this list. So as you guys can see, we are not being able to scroll it. So to make it scrollable, what I am going to do, I'm just going to define physics over here in our grid view builder, and I'm going to activate the scroll physics so that we can scroll through it. So let's save it, and now we can scroll it, as you guys can see, and still it is not looking that much good. It is looking ugly. So what we can do now is we can define some decoration to our containers. So let's define box decoration. So decoration, and this will be a box decoration, and inside this box decoration widget we can specify a color. So color, and this will be same as theme dot of context dot the primary color, and then we can define some shadows. So shadow, box shadow, and this will basically take a list of box shadow widgets. So box shadow, and inside this we can specify the color of the shadow we want. So the color would be, let's say, colors dot gray, and then we can give a blur radius of, let's say, blur radius, let's give it a blur radius of 10. Let's save it, and we get some shadows over here, as you guys can see, but still we can make it look much better. So also what we can do is make this text a bit smaller because it is looking too big. So back in our utils.dart file, right here, the basic heading, the font size, let's give it to around 15, and let's see. Okay, so now our text style is a bit smaller. So now going back to the cardsgrid.dart file, what we can do, we can add some padding, but before that, let us remove this expanded widget which we wrapped with our price. So we'll just remove it, and let's save it. Okay, so now we have this, and now what we can do is basically we can define some padding so that actually, so going back to my cars overview.dart file, here what I can do, I can wrap the cars grid with a padding. So wrap it with a padding, and the same for our text widget. So just wrap it with a padding, but it will be okay. So let's save it, and yes, we have some padding now. And actually I'm going to make this a bit bigger so that you guys can see more clearly. So now we have the padding, and then what we need to do, basically we need to adjust the margins, because we want this row to go a little bit down. So yeah, so for that, what we need to do, we need to define some margins to our container. So right here inside the container, what we can do, we can define some margins. So margin, and this margin will basically vary depending on this index which we are taking in with our builder. So if the index dot is even, then we are going to have a margin of like basically we're going to have this inside an adds insets widget. So edge inset dot only, since we'll just specify the margins only at the top and the bottom. So inside of it we are going to check if it is even, and let's cut it out, let's paste it over here. And so if I is even, I dot is even, then we want a margin at the top, of course. So I'll just specify top attribute, and if I is even, then we're going to have a margin of 0, because as you guys can see, we have this 0 index over here and it does not have any margin. So it is basically 0, and it is even, and this one is 1, this is odd, so it is going to have a margin. And then this one is 2, so it will not have any margin. So yes, so if the top in my margin top, if we are going to check if I is even, then we are going to put 0 margin, else we are going to have 20 margin. Let's save it and let's see. So as you guys can see, it has now gone down, but we are still it is still overlapping with our other cards, and it is not looking that much good. So what we can do is we can specify a bottom margin, and here also we are going to check if the top, okay, so if I is even, then we're going to have a bottom margin of 20, that is 20, else the odd indexes will have a bottom margin of 0, and the even indexes will have a bottom. Okay, so as you guys can see, we have now and yes, so now what we can do, we can give some padding between all of these margins because they are overlapping. So what we can do is wrap this container with widget which will be the padding. Okay, so I can directly wrap it with some padding. So yes, wrap it with padding. Let's save it, and now we are getting this error because there is not much space over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make the price a bit smaller. So over here I'm going to just put it 20. Let's save it. Okay, so now it looks great, and what we can do now is actually make the shadows a bit light because it is too bright. So for that I'm going back to my cars with dot, and here what I can do is actually maybe we can decrease the blur radius. So let's try it out. So let's say, let me save. Okay, so maybe we can also define spread radius over here. Let's check it and give a spread radius of 1, and also maybe we can change this color to some other light color, like maybe we can try okay, let's try gray or maybe black something. So black 26 maybe. So let's save it. Okay, so now we have a lighter color and it is looking fine. Okay, so after this, what we want the detail page of our app. So as you guys can see, we have the detail page over here, and for the detail page we can use some kind of animation to for the image. So we can use the hero animation which Flutter provides us. So what we can do here, we can create another new screen. So that will be the cars, maybe car detail dot art. And also one thing I would like to mention is that you can actually store this container in a separate file as a widget, and you can actually take these values as parameters like the title and also the price, because it becomes a bit confusing if you use it in the same file. Or maybe you can create a separate widget over here because you'll be using this container in this file itself. So yes, definitely you guys can try it out, because then your code will be much more cleaner. So here I'm just showing you, that's why I'm adding it right over here instead of creating it in another widget. Okay, but we will be creating that car detail screen over here, as you guys can see, in car detail.dart file. And here we are going to take some parameters. So first of all, I'm going to import the material package Flutter provides us, and then I'm going to create a new stateless widget, and this will be the car detail widget. And what it is going to do, it is going to return a scaffold because we are going to have an app bar, and also it's going to take some parameters. So what we would like to display in our cars cars detail page. So over here we'll be needing the title, the brand over here, and also we will be needing the price, then the picture, and also the specifications of our car. And as you guys can see, we need the color and all this stuff. So yes, so for that, what I can do is I can pull this information into my widget by finding some parameters. So final string, and this will be the title, so the title of the car. Then final string, or maybe double for the price. So the price is double, so double price. And then we need the final string color, and also the final string gearbox. So let's go here, box, and then final string fuel. So these are some specifications of our car, and also final string add. And yes, so we can initialize them by using a named argument. So car detail, and since this is repeating, so I'll just paste. So yes, right over here, so I'll just paste them, And yes, we are going to be needing the brand, so final frame. Okay, so now we are all set. And also I forgot this semicolon over here. And yes, so inside my scaffold, what I need now, I need an app bar, and that app bar will basically contain our icon buttons as actions. So the actions are actually a list of widgets. So the first one would be icon button, and it would take an icon of icon icon dot. Yes, it will take an icon of bookmark, so we'll be able to bookmark a particular car. So bookmark, and then we can also give a size and a color to this icon. So let's give it a size of around 30 maybe, and also a color. So color, we give it as a theme dot of context dot accent color, which we have defined earlier. And yes, so comma, and then I'm just going to repeat it once again because we need another option, which will be the share, so that we'll be able to share this particular item, and this one would be share. And yes, so this one would be just it would not have color because it would not be highlighted. And yes, so now we have our both icon buttons, and we'll just set down pressed to null for both of them, because we'll not be working with any kind of logic in this video because it will be very long. And if you want to see me implement this whole app, then you guys can just leave a comment so that I get to know, and also you guys can implement them on your own. So make sure you guys go ahead and modify this, because I'll be leaving the source code in my GitHub repo, which you guys can go and check out. Link will be in the description. And yes, so now after that, what we need to do now is we are finished with this app bar section. And also yes, we forgot we can set the elevation to 0 so that it's synchronized with our body. And then we have the title of our particular car. So right here after the app bar, I'm going to specify the body. So body, and this will be a column, and inside this column let's give some children. So children, okay, so I have typed it wrongly, so column, and yes, children. And the first children would be the title, so text, it would be the title car, and the style would be the heading style, of course. So a main heading, so main heading, which we have defined earlier. And then we need to give so for the image, I'm going to use the image.asset. And yes, over here I'm going to just skip the path, and then we are going to need this small actually we also need the brand between them. So here text, and we are going to be needing the brand, so brand. And then let's give it a style. So the style would be the basic heading, so basic heading. And after that, what we need is basically we need some cards. We have some cards over here. So for the cards we can use a row. So yes, so inside this we can define a row, and this row is going to take some children. And the first children would be basically we have okay, so we have some cards. So the cards have some rounded borders, as you guys can see. And also inside this card we're going to have a column. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to define another widget for our cards. So I'll just define it right here. So maybe I will define it in a separate file because it will be a bit messy. So just create a separate file inside my widgets folder, since we have just a single file inside this widgets folder. So I'll just create a separate file, and this one would be the what should we call it? So it will be basically the specific, let's call it specifics dart. So it will contain the specific data of the cars. So specific uh, specific card dot dart. Okay, so enter, and here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to import the material dot dart file, and what we can do here is we can create a new stateless widget, and basically we'll just call it as specific start, and it is basically going to take some parameters. So it is going to take 3 parameters, and I'll just not make them as required, because we can actually set this parameters as required or something, because if we go back to our cars.dart file, so we can just add them like required over here. Then you will be needing to pass the value. So yes, so we can make this required, and for that to happen, we need to import the foundation.dart package. So import foundation.dart package, and yes, so I'll just copy this up, so that because we are going to be requiring all this information of our car for our car, so I'll just paste it over here, here, and here. I'll just paste it. Okay, and after that, what I can do, I can go back to my specific car.dart file, and here I'll just give it as just casual option. So final, what we need here, we need basically 3 strings or maybe a number. So we also have the price, and we are going to use the same card for our under our specification section. So this is for our price. So basically we are going to need 2 parameters. So here also we need 2 parameters. Okay, so definitely here I'll just string, and if we see more carefully, then you guys can see that we actually need the month and the price. So we need to perform a small, we may need to perform a small calculation over here, and that calculation we need not to perform for our other, like for the card in the other sections. So for that, what I am going to do, let's first take the price. So it will be a double, so double price. Then here I can just pass the let's call it just final string title. So this will not be the title of our card, because let's call it name to avoid confusion. And also we can pass in third parameter, which will basically be let's call it name 2. So let us initialize them. So that's the card, and inside of it, this dot price, comma, this dot name, and this dot name. And now what we need to do is, inside this container we're going to have a child, and the child would be a column. So column, and inside this column we need to pass the first text, which would be the name. Okay, the name, and yes, we're gonna pass it as children. So children, first that would be the name, and then we can pass another text for our like price. And if we don't give the price, because we might not okay, so price is a double, so just wrap it inside dot to string. So the third the parameter we can give the name to, if we don't want to pass the price or the price. So okay, so now we are all set. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to decorate it a bit. So decoration, and inside this we can specify box decoration, and here we can maybe we can give a border or something like that. So border, and it would be a border dot all, and here we can pass on the color. So color would be colors dot let's give it a color of a little bit gray, so gray. And then we can pass the width of the borders. So width, let's set it to 1. And also then we can define a border radius, and it would be border radius dot circular with a radius of, let's say, 10, because we cannot see anything right now. So now what we can do, basically, first of all, let us just display the detail page so that we can get some idea what is happening and what is going around. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going back to my carsgrid.dart file, and here I'll wrap this container with gesture detector. So I'll just wrap it with a widget, and this widget is going to be the gesture detector. Okay, so inside this we need to provide an on-tap attribute. So this will be an anonymous function, and inside of it we're just gonna pass navigator dot of context dot push, and it would be a material page route, and it will take in a builder. So right here I'll just pass a context, and it will be arrow function, and I'll just return the car detail page. So cars detail. So I have not imported it, so it will basically automatically get imported. So but I'll just import it in a more shortcut way. So // it is inside my screens folder, and inside of it I get the car detail.dart file, and here we can use it. So car detail, and now it is going to take some parameters as I have defined earlier. So let's check a list of parameters that it is going to take. So it is going to take the title, the price, the color, and all this stuff. So what I can do is I'll just pass it. So I'll just basically copy this all cars dot cars and all. So I'll just copy this up, and right inside this car detail widget, I'm first of all, since I'm using the named argument, so title, it would be all cars dot title, and similar for all of them. So I'll just copy paste it. So right here I'll just paste it, and yes, this one will be index, that is I. And yeah, so let me just change this. Okay, so and okay, so we are having a duplicate for the title. So let's save it, and hopefully it is going to work, and we are going to be able to see something. So I'll just restart my app. So yes, so okay, so now if I click on any one of them, as you guys can see, we can view the detail page. So yes, so definitely it is working, and it is working fine. Yes, so yeah, so we also need to see some more detail over down here, which we have not created it yet. So let's create them, and also maybe we can animate this image, because it is just popping it up, and yes, it is not looking that much good. So for animation, we are just going to use the basic hero widget which Flutter provides us. So what I'm going to do, I am going to wrap this image over here with a hero widget. So I'll just wrap it with the widget, and I'll call it hero, and inside this hero widget we can provide a tag so that it identifies that specific image. So the tag which I'm going to provide is basically, it is a string, so I'll just provide the title. so that I can use it in my other part, because you need to use it on the both ends of your screen, which one which is sending it and one which is receiving it. So I'll just copy it down here and save it, and here in my car detail I'll just wrap this image.assets which is inside my column. Just wrap it with a widget, and yes, it will be the hero widget, and we need to provide the same tag over here. So tag, yes, tag, and it will be the title, just the title which we have retrieved here. So I'll just save it again, restart my app, and hopefully we'll be able to see an animation here now. So yes, so okay, so now as you guys can see, we're seeing this good animation. So instead of the cards just being getting popped up, we are actually being able to see it coming out like this from its card. So yes, it is looking much good, much better. So yes, so now let's work on our detail page again. So here we have the row, and now let's give some children for our this cards. We want these 3 cards over here. So inside of it, so to use the card, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to import my widgets. We need to go to our widgets folder, and from there I'll just import the specific card .dart file, and right here what we can do is we can use it. So specific card, and inside of it we can pass some parameters. So the first one would be we want to pass the month. So yes, so for the first one we can just pass it as name, and it would be for 12 months. So a month, and then we are going to pass on the price, and remember we need to make a small calculation over here. So since the price is going to be a double value, so over here I'll make the calculation. So price multiplied by 12, since we are taking the monthly prices, and yes, and that will be it. And also what we can do, we can just copy this up, and we can just paste it right over here, the one here. Let's give a comma over here, and this one will be for the 6th month, and price into 6, and this one will be for the single month, so for 1 month, price into 1. Let's save it, and okay, so we are getting an error because we are passing a null value to our string. So basically this takes 3 parameters, but since I am not using that one, so I can just pass in a blank string. So be name2, I'll just pass in a blank string. Let's save it and just reload my app again. Okay, and so I need this to add to our other cards. So I'll add it here, and add it here, and just save it. And as you guys can see, we can now view the cards, but they are too small, so let us decorate them. So first of all, here in my specific card.dart file, what I'm going to do, I'll just give it a height of around let's say maybe 50. Let's see, or maybe let's give it to around 80 maybe. Let's save it, and then what we can do is we can give some specify a width. So let's specify the width, and maybe 60. Okay, so let's make it fully square, like here, and then we can give some space between them. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going back inside my row, just going to specify main axis alignment. So main axis alignment dot maybe space around. Let's save it. Yeah, so it is looking a bit nice now, and also we can give some styling to it. So we can add style over here, and let this one, which will be the name, so this one will have style of basic heading. So basic heading, and it gets imported automatically as I click on that option. And then let's save this, and also we need to give a text style to the price. So style, and this one will be for yes, the subheading style. So subheading. Let's save it. Okay, so now we have the price, and these prices are actually going to vary because we have for 1 month, for 6 months, since we have performed some calculations over here. So yes, and now what we can do is basically we want to specify this price in dollars, so we can actually pass a third argument over here. So this one is in some other currency, so I can pass down like here, pass dollars over here. You can also use the symbol, but since we have an argument over here, so I'll just write it down instead of leaving it just blank. So dollars. So let's save it. Okay, so yes, and we can also have some size boxes over here, so to just increase the spacing between them. So right here after this text, I'm going to have a size box of height around 10. Let's see, so height 10, and give a comma, save it, and yes, so let's give it height as 5 maybe. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this size box again, and I'm just going to paste it right below this text, save it again, and yes, we now have the container. And also maybe we can add some padding to it, so padding edge insets dot all, maybe around 8. And yes, so we need to increase the size now, so I'll just increase it, so let's make it 100. Let's save it, and is it a bit bigger? Okay, let's it's fine now. So what else do we need? So now we have this, and also to make this since we are using a single card widget for all this items, so it will be not possible to make to highlight it individually. Instead we can use pass on a boolean. So if it is selected, then we can just highlight it. So maybe we can pass a boolean like this, so if selected, and then we will have to convert this into a stateful widget, and we need to pass on the boolean. We need to change the boolean value inside this set state method. And this is actually, I don't want to implement it now because we are implementing more stuff, and if we add a stateful widget, we can we could have also add an state management like a provider or another approach maybe, but for now, for this video, I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm going to avoid this. And also you guys can try and experiment it out, but you need to change you will have to change this widget into a stateful one if you want to implement that feature. And yes, it is also quite simple, so you guys can definitely try it out. And for now, I'm going to move on, and to the next part we have the specifications, as you guys can see over here. So we will use the same card widget, that is this card widget which we have created over here. So we'll just use it, but we'll use it differently, not like for our pricing. So here what I can do is I can give another text widget. So I'll pass on another text widget outside this row, so inside the column. But before that, let me just give a size box, so I get some spacing. So height, I'll define a height of around 10, and also maybe I can define the text widget now. So text, and it will basically be the specifications. Okay, so specifications, maybe I could just write it in capitals, so specifications. And then we can add some styling to it. So since we have not defined a style like this, we can actually add the new one. So over here, so I'll just add, since we are using it just one time, so it's perfectly fine to give a style, a text style over here inside the text widget, or else you can create just a constant if you want to use that style in multiple text widgets. So inside this text style widget, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give the font color, maybe just color, and it is colors dot gray. And yes, we need to make this a little bit bolder, so font weight dot bold, and yes, that's it. Let's save it and let's see what we get. So we get the specifications over here, and maybe just increase this size box to maybe 20. Save it. Okay, so also increase the font size. So here I'll just increase the font size, make it 30 maybe, save it, and okay, so it's a bit bigger, so 25, I guess. That's 25. And what else do we need to do? Maybe make it 20, because we also need some the other cards, and also maybe a button, so that we can, like, we can select this card or maybe book it. So yes, so right after this text widget we are going to be needing another row, and I'll just copy this row up because it is just same. I'll just copy this up and just paste it here, and let's save it. And this time also we need to include a size box after this text widget. So size box, maybe I'll just copy this one before, and I'll just paste it over here. Let's save it. And okay, so now we have to customize it a bit, so we need to specify the color over here. So the color maybe, so yes, so color, and this price we'll just not use it. So maybe I'll just, let's try and commenting it out. So I'll just comment it, let's save it. So as you guys can see, we're getting a null over here because we have not mentioned the price over here, and we do not need the price since we just need the color. So and since we are using the same common widget for both the price cards and also the specifications card, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically create a small check over here. So this text widget is displaying the price, so I'll just write here, like, if the price is null, then we want to display something else. So price is equal to maybe null, then we want to display an empty string maybe. Let's see if it works or not. Let's save it. And now we do not have that null option over here. And yes, we can just remove the price now from this card. So I'll just remove the price, and here also, so we'll just remove the price. And yes, we'll just remove the price over here, save it. And now we don't have the prices, but there is one thing which I would like to mention is that we still have that price text widget still occupies this amount of space over here. So what we can do is, instead of using this condition inside this text widget, we can just copy this maybe, or maybe let's cut it out. And what we can do now is, actually we can just put it over here. So if the price is null, then we are not going to display this text widget. So yes, so what I'm going to do over here, I am also going to display this text widget after if it is not null. So right here I can display maybe another text widget, and this text widget will actually contain this name, so name2. I'll just copy it up and I'll just paste it over here. And also we can give the styling to it, like style. And here we can just since they all both of them share the same styling, you can just use this conditional inside the text widget also. So yes, so definitely I have made this code a bit longer, because I could have used it directly inside my text widget. But anyways, let's save it now. And yes, so now we need to change this. And for the first one, for the color, I'm just going to pass the color. And over here for the next one is actually our gearbox. So for the gearbox, I'm just going to gearbox, and right here gearbox maybe. And then over here I can just pass on the fuel. Yes, so fuel, and this one will be just the fuel. Okay, let's save it. And yes, so here we are also getting the third option, which we have actually provided as name2, but since the price is null, so it is taking. So we are also going to check this up. So here I am actually going to define another column, because we cannot check whether price is null again and again. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove this for now. So we're going to use another method over here. So I'll just remove this, and it will just have the text widget. Now let's save it. So yes, so now what we can do is we can actually check if the price is null or not from here itself. So if the price equals to null, then I'm going to throw a different column, and else this column will get thrown. So column, and yes, so let us give it some children. So it is going to have this children. Let's copy this and let's paste it up. And definitely we don't need the last one, so I'll just remove this, and also the size box. And here we also don't need a price, so yes, let's save it. And now we don't have the third part. And also what we can do is we can actually decrease the height of the container, because we do not need such a long container with such a long height. But also the color is this text is not in the center, and also it is not quite like how we want. So what I'm going to do first, for the height, I'm going to check if price is equals to null. Then I'm going to give it a height of around 80. Then else I'm going to give it a height of around 100. Save it, and now we should have a less height. And also for the color part, I can actually go down, and maybe I can just go to my cars.dart file, and maybe we can just pass a single color over here. So just pass a single color, and yes, so right here, save it. And where else do we have it? So yes, so let's reload the app again. Okay, now if we go back to our detailed screen, and as you guys can see, we now have the specifications, and actually we are using just a single widget for these two sections. So yes, so that's a lot of stuff what we have done today. And also finally we need to create the button for booking this car. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm just create a raised button over here. So definitely it's going to be inside my column. So back in the cart detail.dart file, and inside my column, just outside the row, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a raised button, and it will be on press null, since we are not handling any backend logic over here. And also give it a child, and take the text widget, and that will be maybe select this car, or maybe book now. Yes, so book now. Let's save it, and we should get a button over here, but it's small. And we can also decorate this button. So I'll add disable colors. So disable color, and it would be theme dot of context dot accent color. Let's save it, and now we have the color. And let's also add a size box over here of maybe height 20. Let's copy this up, and let's save it here. Let's save again, and actually I'll give it a height of 10. Okay, so I can also maybe so okay, so out here I can also give some rounded borders to it. So for that, what I can do is actually let's give it a text color of colors dot white maybe. And then what we can do is actually okay, so instead of defining this text color over here, we can actually define it here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give a style, and it will be text style with font size of 25. And also we can give a color. So colors dot white maybe, and let's save it. Okay, and also we can maybe decrease its font size because it's looking a bit bigger. So now we have this button, and now we, as you guys can see, we actually changed this dollars. So let's check what is going wrong here. So we need to get the price. So let us check what we have done wrong. So we have the price, here, and over here, right in the then column, we don't have the price. We need to get the price here. So the price dot to string. Okay, save it now, and hopefully we get the price. And yes, so okay, so one more thing we can do is we can make this a button rounded. So for that, inside my raise button widget, I'll just define a shape, and the shape would be a rounded rectangle something. So rectangle rounded rectangle border over here, and we can give it a border radius. So the border radius, it would be border radius dot border radius dot circular with a radius of around 10. Save it. Okay, so we have got a border radius now, and also here we can define this side of the border. So we do not want any sides or anything, we just want the shape. So we have the shape, and it is perfectly rounded, and maybe we can change the theme accent color to purple, so that it becomes more like clearer. So going back to my main.dart file, what I can do is I can change this to purple maybe, and we'll be able to see the changes. So let's save it, and yes, it's purple, and yes, it looks nice. Okay, so yes, so let's see if we get the different specs. Okay, this one is red color, and this one is maybe gray. Yes, and also we get this, it is white. Okay, so definitely we're getting exact information about specific cars. So yes, so this was some simple UI stuff, clean UI stuff, which you can implement with Flutter, and definitely you can do much more. So I'll leave the link for the code of this app in my the description section, so that you guys can go and check it out. And do like this video if you found it helpful, and do subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos based on Flutter. And thank you for watching.